We're kind of doing a little bit of an out of the ordinary special episode right now. I'm very excited. Sam's not here, and instead, I'm with my new friend who I'm going to get to know on mic and learn all about what she's up to on Twitter. Someone that I've seen in my feed many times. I've been dying to talk to. It's at Shelly Marie 19XX. Shelly, how's it going?
Hi, it is going great. I just finished my work day and now I get to chat about something I enjoy. So I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. So you finished your workday. I'm curious, the shirt that you're wearing right now. Did you wear
Mhm.
that to work today?
I did. I actually changed because the shirt I was wearing for lunch got a little dirty. So I put on a new shirt for you. But I wear pretty much Machine Gun Kelly merchandise about every single day, unless I'm going to be around my dad. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
hopefully, I do that out of respect for him. He's, not appreciative of the music that I listen to, and that's okay. He's older and I understand. So I don't wear my merch around my dad just so that we don't have to talk about it. And then I wear it pretty much
That
everywhere else. So
that's kind of amazing. That I mean, it's interesting to me. You're not a what you just described was something that a teenager would describe, but you're like a grown woman who is saying
I
that you
just
still.
turned 60 on August 3rd. So, yeah, and honestly for a long time it was just because I didn't want to like discuss it and I did feel like a teenager, but I have now made the very adult decision that I'm not hiding it, but out of respect for him, I'm just not going to wear it. So it's kind of a little bit different, the more grown-up viewpoint that I've gotten to. So initially, yeah, I just didn't want to deal with him, so I just
That's
didn't wear it.
hilarious. Oh my
But
gosh. Well,
now
okay.
I'm kind of like, yeah. So yeah, sorry guys, when you're 60 and your parents don't approve of it, you still have to deal with it. So it never
it
goes
never
away.
it never goes away. What kind of
They're
music does your
always
dad?
going to judge you.
What kind of music does
Um,
your dad like?
well, actually, the funny thing is, my dad really introduced me to music because I was born, of course, I was turned 60. So I was born in 1962. So I grew up listening to all the music of the 60s, Motown. My dad loved Elvis. My dad loved uh, just all kinds of music. So I grew up loving like Diana Ross. I grew up loving like Olivia Newton-John. Just a very wide variety of music. The Eagles. So as I got older, I got into rock, more like the Eagles, soft rock kind of. But then my
Mhm.
brother was into like Rush and a lot of the 80s bands. So I listened to that and went to college and grew more and found Bruce Springsteen there. Saw him in concert a bunch over the years, um, and listened to more and more music. I've been to country concerts and rock concerts and a million concerts. So I love music. So that's kind of, and it started from my dad. So, I guess that's why I'm respectful to him, is
Right.
because he
Well,
did
yeah.
give me kind of one of the most important things in my life, really. So,
That's. I mean, my brain is firing on all cylinders with questions I want to ask you. But first, for those who are just listening right now, so your shirt today, right now, is like a pink T-shirt, and it's very interesting because Machine Gun Kelly's kind of looking up.
yeah,
It's
this is
what
like
a
the tickets
weird.
to my dance. So it's like,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a
Take it to my
very interesting.
downfall.
And then the back has the tour dates
Oh,
on it.
nice.
So, and this is actually a brand new one because I have another one that I wore out. It's so faded, I didn't wear it. So they had this one on sale on the website for like $20. So I went
Oh,
ahead and got
nice.
another one. So
I mean,
yeah.
how many Machine Gun Kelly shirts would you say that you own?
Well, I counted hoodies last night and I have 25. Um,
25 hoodies. Wow.
but I'm trying to give some away over time. It takes me a while to detach from them. But yeah, I'm trying to not have so much
Do you have the
stuff
short? Do you have the black
because
shorts that have the pink Machine Gun Kelly print on the legs?
I do have the new ones with
Yeah.
no, I didn't get those. So
Okay.
yeah, I do have about 5 or 6 pairs of shorts though with different machine.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing a pair. The purple shorts here have,
That's.
they don't match, but they have EST
Oh,
for life. So
cool. Wait. So I
yeah.
mean that. Let's cut to the chase here. So you were raised on like what a lot of Here's the thing. Machine Gun Kelly, even with our listeners, a very divisive topic
Oh,
for
for sure.
people. People think that a lot of people probably more side with your father and think that it's
Hmm.
there's better music out there. I personally really enjoy Machine Gun Kelly because I grew up listening to Blink 182, and
Hmm.
I think that it kind of it's a logical continuation of that sound. I'm curious, and then there's this whole other layer because pop music and hip hop music and pop culture and
Hmm.
punk music too, very geared towards young people. And so I think
Yeah.
that you are a very interesting person for all of these various reasons because you grew up listening to the Eagles and Bruce Springsteen. Now you have, probably thousands of dollars of Machine Gun Kelly merchandise in your closet, maybe. Uh,
Yes, sadly.
and
Not sadly. I love it also.
and
It's
you
like,
and you love Machine Gun Kelly the artist, so I'm just curious, how on earth did you end up becoming this mega fan of Machine
well,
Gun Kelly?
that's an excellent story. That's a great question. Um, okay, so let's think about my age. I graduated college in 1984. Um, so in my 20s and 30s, I listened to a lot of music, did a lot of concerts. And in my 30s, I had children. So I had two daughters, one of whom is 29 now, and the other one is 25. I also have a grandson. Um, who is two. So, but when my daughters were born in the 90s, the early 90s, actually 93 and 97, um, I didn't really listen to music. I was busy. I
Mm-hmm.
was super busy. I didn't, um, I missed punk completely. I missed like the big rap era with, Tupac and all the good rappers and all the battles. And like, I missed all that in my life. And there was no social media, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
there was no way to kind of keep up on things you didn't really know about. And there was really no other way to get music, really, other than to go buy an album or a CD or, whatever. So online music was all a lot later. So that made it so much easier to explore different genres. But back in the 90s, I didn't have all that. So, uh, I missed a lot of it. So when my girls, as they got a little bit older, they liked like the Backstreet Boys. They would hear, this music at school and
Mm-hmm.
bring it home, and we'd listen to it in the car and stuff. I'd play the radio in the car, but I really just wasn't into anything. So I was kind of up on popular music that played on the radio, but not like in depth on any specific artists. Um, so then we get time passes, and my younger daughter is a travel softball player in her teens, and we start driving to a bunch of tournaments together, and she is starting to get into rap music a lot, so she starts playing me artists like Mac Miller and oh, we had Fetty Wap, we have Eminem, of course. Just, she would pick out different songs that she thought I would like and play them. Also listened to EDM with her. I listened to like I mean, just all kinds of music. I have a big, huge playlist I started back then that has Avenged Sevenfold to Chris
Wow.
Conrad, who's like a Christian artist. So I mean, it's like a crazy list. Um, but you know what? She never played me a Machine Gun Kelly song, but she liked him. I just didn't find out about that until 2017. One of her friends had a daughter. She was very young. She was like 16, 17 years old. Had a daughter who she wasn't really prepared to deal with. Well, the only thing that would help her is when she cried is she would play this song, and it starts with a piano, and it was so pretty that like the minute the first piano note would stop, she would stop crying, and then I would be working because I've worked at home for decades, honestly.
Oh wow.
Since there have been computers available to work from home, I pretty much work from home. So I'm just good at what I do, and people let me do what I want. So,
That
um,
rules.
yeah, yeah. If you want to do what you want, be good at what you do. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, the baby, Layla would stop crying when Emily would play the song, and the song is called 27. So I asked my daughter, I'm like, who is this? Because I'd never heard the voice before that I knew of, and I wasn't familiar with it at all. It's a beautiful song. Um, I listened to it, and I was like, well, I really like what he's saying in this song. This song, 27, is a very like inspirational song. It's about all the artists that, are in the 27 Club, that died too young,
Hmm.
Kurt Cobain and Janis Joplin. And so it told me a whole lot about him as an artist right then, because I mean, just recognizing that this song was kind of a tribute to those kinds of artists. I knew that, those were inspirations to him. And then so I listened to the album. The album that was out at the time was called Bloom. It is still called Bloom. They didn't change the name. But so I listened to the whole album, and like the first song is a rap song. I really liked it. It's high energy. The flow of it was really awesome. I was like, this is great. The next song is like a blues song with a blues guitar and like this very like it's wake and bake. So it's a song about smoking weed, and yes, I don't have any problems with that for people. Uh,
Don't tell your dad.
no, my dad knows
Okay.
actually. He doesn't care about that. He only cares about the music. So it's so funny. But no, and then the next song was a collaboration with a guy from one of the we used to watch American Idol all the time. We used to watch all those competitions, singing competition, The Voice. I would watch it with my girls, so I knew this one was from one of the competitions, James Arthur. Um, there was a song with him. It was very upbeat. It was nice. I liked it. And then the song came on that was called At My Best. Now, to give you a quick background about that, before um, in 2017, I had been divorced for about a year. Had been through a very difficult time, lost a lot of money in a business venture with my ex-husband. And was just totally, depressed. I was actually living with my dad at the time, and struggling with, a lot of debt, a lot of, the mental aspect of the actual being depressed, and
Hmm.
trying to get all of those things, health issues, just like and basically I didn't have anywhere to live. Our house was, we had to put it up for rent so that we could keep it. So we were, I had to rent another house for my daughters and my ex-husband to live in. And anyway, it was just rough. It was a rough
Right.
time. The details don't really matter. What matters is that I was just hurting a lot.
Hmm.
And I heard this song at my best, and I burst into tears, literally. Um, it's just, I wrote this song as a message for help on behalf of anybody finding themselves, is like the very first part of it. And it spoke to me that this is like, here, who is this guy that I've never heard of?
Right.
And let me look at him. He is like totally like just nothing like I've ever, listened to. It was different. So I listened to the whole album. I love the album. And then I went on a deep dive. And literally, it's almost embarrassing to say how much I learned about him very quickly. I watched all of his interviews on YouTube. I listened to all of his old music. I even have his like very first mixtapes that he handed out. I didn't get them, obviously. I wasn't around then. But I've listened to, his very
So,
earliest mixtapes.
wow.
Yeah,
So
I've seen the
you went
growth.
deep. You went deep. And sorry, this so
Yeah.
what you just described, this was like how long ago was this?
So this is all 2017.
2017, right? Okay, you said
Uh-huh.
that.
So yeah, so I started. So I'd say I found that I heard the song in the summer because Layla was born in like March, so she's maybe 5, 6 months old. So September, so I started like really listening and digging in, and then in October, um, I learned that he was having a concert in Cleveland in December called Double Xmas. It's just XXMAS. And
Okay,
it's
yeah.
just, yeah, and I'll explain about the double X eventually, but it's a big thing in our, um, fandom, if you want to
Fandom.
call it
Yeah.
that.
The
In
fandom's
our,
called EST, right?
yeah, but
What
we
does
don't
that mean?
really like consider ourselves a fandom, honestly. We consider ourselves a family.
Okay.
And look at that little stick.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
coincidence. That's my actual personal people family. But my other real family, my EST family, EST in a nutshell stands for Everyone Stands Together. And basically, MGK has a tattoo across his chest says EST 1990. And then at some point in time, he came in and put red X's over the 90 part to say, And he decided that instead of being established 1990, which is when he was born, it became Everyone Stands Together XX, 19XX. And 19XX means anybody belongs. And of course, now we have people born in 2000s too, so it's a little bit dated, but it still means the same thing. It means that everyone stands together. And really, he has always in his music stood up for kind of the underdogs, the people, the addicts, the people that are struggling, the people that are, the black sheep of their families, the people
Hmm.
that just don't have anybody really. And so
Just
what he did was bring them all together, and now we have each other.
That's amazing. I love to hear that, but I'm still curious. I still don't really understand how XX represents. Is it like 19 whatever year you were born? Is that what it is?
Yes,
Okay, I see.
yes,
Okay,
exactly.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the XX is now like a thing. You'll see people at his concerts do XX. He does this every once in a while. You'll see him with his hands up. And there's a tattoo that goes with it, which is what you initially contacted me
Right. Yeah, I
about.
want to ask you about that in a second, but I'm
Yeah.
already like thank you for sharing. It's very interesting because I think I like Machine Gun Kelly, but I also can really understand the people who make fun of him sometimes. I come from both sides of the argument in a way. I can see, especially with rap music, there's a lot of people who debate the validity of people like MGK versus, quote, real rappers or things like that.
Mhm.
But then to hear someone just the way that you personally connected with it so deeply is beautiful. It adds this new level of understanding to the
And
music.
and I'm not the only one at all. As a matter of fact, almost everybody I know that I talk to regularly had a connection with a song in their life when they needed it. And that's, I always tell people that, well, because, people are like, oh, I'm so sad I didn't find him until 2019. I didn't find him until the lockdown sessions in 2020. I didn't find him until Tickets to My Downfall. But, it's, you find his music when you need to find his music, is the way that I like to look at it.
Right.
So yeah, there is a lot of depth and meaning in his music that is really easy to just write off. Because if you don't look at it as sincere and
Hmm.
real,
Right.
then it can seem uh what's the word I get? People can just, if they can dismiss it, they can be like, oh yeah, well, whatever, like this a song like Glass House. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's on his album Hotel Diablo. I mean, he's talking about trying to kill himself in the kitchen while his daughter's asleep in the bedroom, and we know that moment happened, and that's why a song like that to us just gets to our hearts immediately, whereas other
Because it's
people are
so
like, oh yeah, right, that didn't
right.
happen, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But it did happen. I mean, we know it happened, and if it
Right.
didn't happen exactly like it said, it happened in some way that's the reference that he was able to make. So,
Wow.
because it is still music. I mean, right? So sometimes you got to tweak things around,
Hmm.
and you're 6'3" because it doesn't rhyme well to say 6'4". So, people get
Is
all
that
hung
a
up on
thing in the song? Did he change his height?
oh, that in songs. I mean, like he uses his height in a lot of songs, especially his older ones. So some songs he's 6'3", some songs he's 6'4", some songs he's 6'3.5". So,
Oh my
you
god!
know,
So it's
you know,
is
it
that
really
a thing?
depends on the flow that he needs,
Is that
right?
a
So
thing that can fluctuate day to day? You're like, maybe if you feel bloated, your weight could change,
probably.
but your height could change a little
I
bit.
guess maybe when you're like hungover, you're all slumped, you're not
Yeah,
as tall. I don't know.
exactly.
So,
So you like did this deep dive 5 years ago. So
mhm.
you're 55 years old, and we had just started our podcast around that too. Just so you know,
Ah,
it's kind of an interesting
fascinating.
timeline. But you did that, and then he was kind of like I think he was still somewhat underground. Like people knew him and there was a fandom, but he wasn't really like this. He wasn't selling out stadiums. And then the moment that I loved, but I think at the time I was laughing at it as much as I was with it. But the moment when he goes on the record label's table and he's like
Mhm.
dancing around in circles, and then that ushered in this new era. I mean, how did you feel about him pivoting to pop punk? You've
Um,
just fallen in love with
Well, I
MGK the
don't.
rapper.
First of all, I don't feel like it's a pivot. So
Oh,
that's a,
okay.
that's a big thing for me.
Really?
I mean, let's remember I've listened to all of his music. So
Hmm.
like I've also watched all the videos. I've seen there's a series he did called Kelly Vision when he was young, which is basically a blog of his life on the road. I saw him on stage with Blink 182 in 2010. I saw him on Warped Tour in all these videos. I like there's nothing that's surprising to me about the
Right.
music that he's
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
because it's all still authentically him too. So no matter
So
what
that's more
genre
of
he
a
does,
the
it's
genre
just
thing is more of
still
like
him.
it's more of a
Yeah.
marketing spin, really, is that they did right? Because I agree. I remember seeing videos of
I
him.
think that was a label thing, right? I
Yeah.
think that they had to kind of, but for him, it was like a natural evolution. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Okay. So
So,
you were like, oh, this makes perfect sense as soon as you heard Tickets
I
to My
mean,
Downfall.
no, I was stunned by Tickets to My Downfall. I was really stunned at how good he was at that kind of music. Um, and how I could hear the influences of, because now remember, as my daughter was a teenager and we were listening to music, I started to hear songs like from My Chemical Romance and
Hmm.
Blink and all those songs. So they came into my music kind of vocabulary later, and Fall Out Boy and things like that. And so I was hearing like those influences in it, and yet I heard also that it was perfectly his music. It was still him, his voice, his instrumentation. I recognize the guitar players when and the drum. It's still him no matter what. And he's done hundreds. Well, I wouldn't say it's hundreds. He's probably done 100 collaborations with different artists, and they're always perfect. Like they always fit perfectly with the other artists. He's done collaborations with Migos. He's done them with, French Montana. He's done them with like young guys, young artists, and of course Ian Dior, and all the ones that are out currently.
Right.
And they're always like you always can get a good flavor of the other artist, and yet you still get a great song that sounds like one of his songs.
Hmm.
So, and it's amazing to me how he's able to continually tie his story into these other people's stories and make a cohesive song. And I think that that's something that really is underground for him still to this day is, the quality of the collaborations. He has collaboration with Little Mix. He has a collaboration with the Vamps and Danny Avila, in a dance song. So it's just, yeah, he's got a ton of different music and nobody knows,
Right. Nobody
the
knows.
extent that like I had his EDM music on my thing way before Tickets to My Downfall came out, because he's
Right.
got a song with Steve Aoki that,
Who is
uh
also actually from a punk background as well, Steve Aoki. So it kind of
yeah. Oh, they did an awesome video for this song too. It's Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that actually. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
really
really
great.
cool. So you were like you saw it coming a mile away. You're like, this makes sense, kind of. I mean, it was you
I
were.
mean, I did and I didn't.
Uh huh.
Yeah. Like I wasn't surprised that he was going to the, that sound. But because also remember my first album was Bloom. There's a lot of guitar in Bloom. There's a lot of drums and there's a lot of live drums in Bloom.
Right.
It's not just all beats. And there's a lot of guitar. There's the 27 has piano. There's a lot of live instruments in Bloom already. So then Hotel Diablo was a little more traditional hip hop, but it also still also has like songs like Hollywood Whore that have a huge, I mean, that's a Linkin Park tribute song, so it's got lots of guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and incredible drums. So, he's got a great drummer with him all the time. So,
Yeah.
um, Travis
Okay.
Barker just added to that. So,
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's funny because at the time, if you were on the outside looking in, it did seem like a major, like, kind of label trick, or that they're trying to
yeah.
cash in on the emo nostalgia that was happening at the time and the pop punk nostalgia. And then it really paid off. I mean, he is a huge pop star now. It's kind of unbelievable, but I guess for you probably it's no surprise.
Well, I was telling you a story that what happened in October 2017 was I got a ticket. I got 4 tickets actually to his Christmas concert, if you remember.
Right,
And
yes,
I
yes.
saw him perform for the first time. And that is when I knew that he was going to be like a major star, um, like performance wise. And just, he is so magnetic on stage. He gives 1,000% to every performance, which is why he does crazy things like hit himself in the head with a wine glass. It's just because he is so in the moment, or climb up and hang upside down, or whatever, or dive into the crowd. I've seen him crowd surfed many times. I've seen him. I've been to since that first show 34, 30. I don't know. I lost count.
Yes.
30
Wow.
plus additional shows, including a couple like private radio station performances. So I've seen him a lot. Um, and so yeah, that is what kind of gave me the sign when I saw him live that this is a rock star really. I mean, he
Hmm.
is a rock star on stage, and anybody that denies it is just not being honest, you know.
It's true.
Um uh and I don't need my word for that. I mean, I can just show you video after video of him killing it. Now, is he the best guitar player I've ever seen? No. Is he the most passionate guitar player I've ever seen? Absolutely. I mean, he may not be, the most technically advanced, but he is always working too. He's
Right.
always working and trying to be better. I mean, that's how the whole lockdown sessions came about, was because he was practicing guitar and trying to get better.
So then, what about like he did Tickets from a Downfall, and it was cut to some people a departure. To you, it was like he deserved to arrive at this moment. This makes perfect sense. Did you feel like mainstream? I have a feeling. I have a feeling that you love Machine Gun Kelly no matter what he does. But did you feel like mainstream sell was a little bit of repeating the same thing over again, or?
So Mainstream Sellout came out and I listened to it probably 4 or 5 times. Um, and so I can see why people say those things, and yeah, I do love him I love him no matter what, but that doesn't mean that I would never criticize him, or that I would not, that I would excuse him, doing things that he shouldn't do. I would still stand up for what's right. Like, I don't just blindly support him. I support him out of like a knowledge of him,
Mm-hmm.
and a trust in who he is as a person. So, um, so Tickets, I think it's a phenomenal album, and the songs that have similar sounds, it's so funny to me that people like complain, because most albums are very cohesive and the songs have a lot of most artists that I know, their songs all sound the same, or say they sound they have a very common theme through them. Like, you can easily tell this is a Ed Sheeran song, right? And it's
Right.
not just his voice, it's a lot of things. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's that way with a lot of artists for me. And so I'm very like particular about music in some ways. Like, it either catches me or doesn't. Something sounds good to me or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind artists that I don't like to listen to. I just don't like to listen to them.
Mhm.
They still have every right to go out and be successful, and I don't have to like them. It's fine.
Right.
I just wish everybody could have that same
Well, that's yeah.
perspective towards Machine Gun Kelly, because look, maybe his voice isn't for you. Like, I have an artist who I won't name.
Oh,
He's a rapper, but I do not like to listen to his voice. And it's not Eminem. It's not anybody like that people are going to leap to and think of. It's just a particular artist that I don't really like the way his voice sounds like to my
right.
ears. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound good. Everything Machine Gun Kelly makes has sounded good to me. There are like 3 songs that I didn't particularly care for, and they're all collaborations. And I really just didn't care for, they really just aren't my kind of
Okay.
songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I don't hate them, I just, those aren't the ones I'm going to listen to. So, but like, he's got 300 other songs that I
Well,
love.
there is
So,
something about him that is just if you're not if it doesn't click and you don't get it, there's something that people do. I mean, his personality is so large that it makes it very easy to make fun of him if you want to as well. And so I'm also curious if that extends to you because again, this is kind of stereotypically youth culture we're talking about, and you're,
right.
even though you're treated like a teenager for listening to Machine Gun Kelly, do you find,
By my dad.
yeah, do you find there's a lot of pushback being a 60-year-old Machine Gun Kelly fan?
Absolutely, man. I get shit every day. People give me shit online every day. Oh my God, why are you listening? Go play with your grandson. And it's like, you don't know what this music does for me. So who are you to tell me what to listen to, you know? And which is the same thing I will tell my dad if we have to ever have that discussion again, but I don't plan to. But if I do, I would say the same thing, which is this music is important to me. It means something to me. It's a connection to him as an artist, but he's not alone. He has a whole team of people that he works with that I support. His drummer, his the Slim, the bass, the band, all the guys in the band. Not on top of that, the managers on his team, the people that are in the crew that go out on the show every tour. We know all of those people by name. They know our faces. Like when we go out to tour to shows, they know us.
Wow.
And we know them. So this is not just it's not just the fandom,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so people within the fandom that have been here for a long time, people within EST, we they have a name of OG EST. So OG EST people that have been around a long time, they poke fun of him. They call it dragging him. But even they don't really do it anymore because he's getting so much hate now that it's not funny anymore. And really that all got stirred up when he had the beef with Eminem.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of the hate that you see today is a direct result of that and not of Tickets to My Downfall. Because honestly, nearly everybody I know that's listened to Tickets to My Downfall, and I talk to so many people. Like I talk to a lot of people because I am always trying to validate my opinion and make sure that, I'm not missing something that I'm not, so I listen to people's arguments against it. And, I get why people say, oh, it sounds repetitive. Well, on the surface, it kind of does, maybe, but to me, it doesn't because every song is about something different and it has different stories. They're all different stories. They all have different structures. They're all put together differently. Some have, choruses that repeat, and sometimes he throws in extra, there are ad libs in every single song. And musically, if you listen to these songs, they're a lot deeper than a lot of songs that you hear out in other
Right.
genres. So it's easy to dismiss them on the surface if you don't really listen.
Hmm.
That's the way I would say it. If you really listen to it, it's a great album. It's cohesive. There's a flow to it that makes sense. I wrote a review about another one of his albums, which is the same thing. He puts those albums together so carefully with the songs in specific places for specific reasons. And, nobody gives him credit for that.
Hmm.
His fans know it. And we know that when a new album comes out, the first thing you have to do is listen to it in order. And you're going to probably want to listen to it in your car, on headphones, and then wherever else you can listen to it. So it's like it's a job when new music comes out because you don't always get it the first time you hear it,
Right.
you know.
So
Um,
I wanted to go back to something you mentioned
I'm
earlier
sorry.
about the oh, that's okay, no problem. Yeah. The
There's his
OG.
mouth is hanging up here
You
upside down.
mentioned the
Um,
OG EST group, and are you? Would you say that you're OG EST? It sounds like you kind of are.
No, I don't consider myself only just because I came so late. Um, but I have been around since I've been here since 2017. I have consistently been around constantly. I've been on social media, defending and I've been able to meet him several times. Uh, but OG are the people that were there when there were five other people in the audience.
Right. Okay.
They're the people that were there in 2010, 2009, when he was a teenager, when he was a young kid.
Hmm.
And that's who I consider OG. There are people that would consider me that probably, just because I know that because they've told me that, but um, it doesn't matter to
Right.
me. I mean, I'm
So
just here to kind of support the people um, that are also his fans that I care about, which is all of them, and then him and
right.
all of the people on his team. So,
So along those lines, so you don't consider yourself OG EST, but the way I did find you was because I saw on your Twitter you had kind of written like a guide to getting your first Machine Gun Kelly tattoo, and sort of like it to me from a distance. Here's what it feels like to me: is that it feels like the Machine Gun Kelly family is a subculture, and with any subculture, there are new people who get into it, and then you need to protect the subculture that you love so much, and so you try to set boundaries, but then it might feel like you're being a gatekeeper, and so then there's this
Yes, that did
whole
come
this
across
whole
that way to
this
people.
whole debate emerges, and I love that because it happens in sort of any art
Yeah.
realm or any pretty much everywhere on earth. There's these discussions and debates, and so it's very interesting to me that this happened surrounding the idea of a Machine Gun Kelly tattoo.
Yeah, well, what I thought was hilarious about that tweet that you saw was how offended by it some people got when the way that I worded it was so careful because I make it a very like I try very hard never to be offensive about things and to always allow for altering or for differing opinions. Like I know everybody doesn't like Machine Gun Kelly. I know everybody doesn't like his music. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to be a decent person, right? And so that's always the thing. But there are a lot of people, new people that are really excited about his music, and I understand it because I was there, and that love mainstream sellout, which is just to me isn't even an evolution of tickets that a lot of people again didn't really listen to and aren't giving the right credit to, but um, they're excited, so they want to rush out and get, a tattoo. And there are tons of Machine Gun Kelly tattoos you can go get, but there is one that's special, and that's the double X behind the ear. He has it. Most of his family has it, meaning his managers, the guys in the band, and there is a tattoo artist that gives that tattoo. Now obviously you can go to anybody and get it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care. I just think you should know that there's a little bit of meaning to it before you do it, because if somebody else sees you with that tattoo in that place, they're going to make assumptions about you, right? They're going to assume that you know something about EST. They're going to assume that you have committed to say, "Hey, yeah, I'm loyal to this music for the rest of my life or whatever, or until I change my mind," as it happens with some people.
Yeah.
So whatever. But if you're getting a tattoo, that's a big commitment. So that's all I was trying to say is look, so, because it took me 5 years to get
Right.
mine. So, and I did get mine.
You have the oh my
I just
gosh.
got it.
Holy
Um,
cow. Wait,
so
did
this
you
is a
get it after
surprise.
did you get it after
Yes,
the
I
tweet?
got it on the Sunday after the stadium concert in Cleveland by his artist. So
Oh my god. Okay, so
yeah,
hang on.
so
You
that's a surprise.
did you do did you is that your first tattoo also?
It's my only tattoo. Yeah, it
Oh
was
my
my very first
gosh.
one. Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, it was a big decision, and then I went over and talked to the artist, and he just made me feel so comfortable.
Aw.
And he was doing actually he did several of these tattoos that day, and I knew all the people, or I knew of them. Um, And then he did mine last since I was new, and he just made sure I was relaxed, and it was a very good,
That's
positive
so
experience
cool.
and
Oh
it
my
really ended
gosh.
up in a weekend that was on just a huge high note because, Friday night they had he has a club in Cleveland, it's a coffee shop at night. It can be a little bit of a club called the 27 Club, and the coffee shop had an emo night event
Oh,
actually,
okay.
so that was exciting. And we were all there dancing together. And then the concert was phenomenal. I met so many amazing people. So many people that I've known for so many years were there, and they were all meeting in the same place. It was just hilarious because we were sitting there waiting for somebody, and there's somebody else that we know waiting for somebody, and somebody else. So it was just like it was a family reunion that weekend. And so to me, this was a good way to cap off that weekend and also to kind of make a commitment and statement about something, which is why I wrote the tweet the next day, which most people don't really
Okay.
know.
That's
So
wild.
there was an actual reason that I wrote it because it meant something to me. Yeah. So,
That's so
um,
cool.
and no, my dad doesn't know about this yet either. So
Well, don't show. We won't show him
we are
this.
definitely not going to be telling him about this podcast.
But okay, so
My mom will love it though. Hi, mom. Yeah, she's awesome. She supports me in everything that I do, and she has been to Cleveland with me, not to the concerts because that's just too much for her. She's a big Billy Joel fan, but um, But yeah,
That is awesome. Oh
so
my
that's
gosh.
how I
So
yeah, so you have the scoop.
did
So
you go? So did you go
congratulations.
to Cleveland like knowing you were going to be getting this tattoo, or did it
No,
just?
absolutely not. No, I was not going to get a tattoo when I went to Cleveland.
Uh,
And actually, that day I woke up and I was supposed to leave on Sunday. And I woke up so sad and tired after that concert was over. Well, first of all, when he hit himself with the wine glass and we had blood on his face, it really like hurt my heart. So,
right.
like I understood why he did it. Like I don't have any hard feelings about him doing it. He's him, he's going to do what he does. But it scared me. And so that kind of, and then we had the end of the show kind of lifted me back up. And after the show, it was everybody's tired. You got to walk a
Hmm.
long way. You got to get to your transportation. There's so much traffic. So it just after the show just was down. And then we, we went to for fast food and I had to wait like 2 hours to get something to eat and then they closed and I had to beg them to make our food because they were like, no, sorry, we just closed right when we got to the line.
Oh
um
jeez.
but I begged him, he made the food. But anyway, so the next day we got up and we met some friends from Mexican, right around the corner from where we were staying. And we're sitting there, there's probably 10 of us at the table. And one of them gets a text and says, hey, Sev, who is the tattoo artist that we're talking about, is taking OGEST for tattoos this afternoon, but he's not open. So if you want to go, you can go. So my friend who was with me, who goes to all the concerts with me, or most of the concerts with me, we met each other at a concert, of course. Uh, we were strangers and shared a hotel room together. So, and that's been a great friendship. So that I've gotten through this music, and she means the world to me. And she wanted to get a tattoo. So I said, well, and I have my car. I had driven on this trip. So I said, well, I'll drive you over there, and then I'm probably going to go home. Or start my trip home, because it's a long drive from Cleveland to Atlanta. Um, she She says, well, why don't you get one? I said, no, I'm not going to get a tattoo. And she's like, well, why not? I said, well, first of all, my skin doesn't heal very well. I don't think it's going to do right. And then I'm afraid I'm just going to mess with it and not let it heal. And she said, why don't you just talk to him? I said, okay, fine. So I talked to him and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I was just like, just get it.
Yeah,
Like,
of
like what's the big
course.
deal?
Why not?
You're here and it's the right time and the right place and the right person to do it. And so I said, all right, I'm gonna do it. And so my friend and I both got our tattoos that day, the same tattoo. And she does, I mean, the stuff I do for EST, I do what I can. She does even more. She's an amazing person. And there's so many amazing people. Like we're just two, like I'm not special in EST. There's a bunch of people there that are out there making sure people that's what we did Saturday was we were transferring tickets all over the place and people were driving from other cities that didn't know if they were even going to get to go to this show because,
Wow.
they couldn't afford tickets. And so people grouped together and helped find them tickets. And we were transferring tickets left and right. And everybody that we wanted to get to that show got to that show. Well, most of them. And there was somebody who recently had been going through a really rough thing and we just really felt like she needed to be there. And so, she got a ticket and then she had a ride and then she was there. And that kind of thing. They did that for me one year. I had no money. And somebody got me a ride to Christmas. Somebody got me a ticket to Christmas and they paid for my meals while I was there.
Oh
They
my
gave me a place to
gosh.
stay. So, that was something that they did for me. And you're just constantly paying it forward, and it's like it is really a movement. When he says it's a movement, he's not lying. And even Diddy talks about his movement, that is with him, and it's just growing. So
I feel
the
like you need to
part of
be on
him
the
that people
payroll. You need to be
the
put on
part
MGK's payroll, I think, because you're doing so much.
I think this is my job. I think my job is to spread the positive things about him. Yeah, there are negative things about him, and I understand it, but he is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. I mean, he is never not working on something. his performances are the hardest, performances. He goes so hard, that he's got to be exhausted every night after he does a concert. Because I am, and I'm going hard in the audience, but I'm not on stage in front of 50,000 people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I'm just one person being a lunatic out in the crowd. So, but it's still by the end, I can barely walk to my car. So, um, but yeah, it's to the people that there are a lot of things that are said about him that are just based on a lot of misconstrued things because people want to see the negative in people that are doing well. They want to cut them down. And sadly, that's just a part of human nature, I think, is that, you know, all these artists have been working a long time and they weren't aware of him. That doesn't mean he didn't exist, but they weren't aware of him. Then they think that he's coming in and taking over their scene, except some of them know. And you'll see by the people that support him that some of, like K Thrash and I don't know all of their names, but the guys that he's works with, even the guys from Avenged Sevenfold, they were on his first album. M Night, I can't say it, of course. Um, and uh, he's where he's supposed to be doing music that he loves doing, and if people have a problem with that, then I don't understand it.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Well.
really all he's doing. And everything that people make a fuss about is usually overblown or exaggerated by the media to make it sound like something that it's not.
Hmm. Well, I mean, how nice has it been to have this conversation? Even learning that you got the tattoo and that it had your tweet had an extra layer of meaning because people were saying like this seems like a gang initiation or something. It's.
Well, it probably is based on a lot of things that because he grew up, he didn't grow up, but he spent some formative years on the east side of Cleveland, and I guarantee you that kind of stuff was happening around him. And if he modeled it on that kind of loyalty and the good things about gangs, because there are good things about gangs, they protect the people that are in them, right? Yeah, they're bad because of the violence and the things of the people that are not in them,
Right.
you know. But if you just take the good side of that, the love part of it, and you make it into, a group of people that care about each other, how is that a bad thing?
Hmm.
You know? And so, yeah, I see the cult. And actually, in one of his songs, he says, 100,000 plus cult fan base. Yes, that is us. That's a song is called See My Tears from his first album. But that song, it does talk about it. It is cultish, but it's not a cult. I mean, nobody is, selling all their belongings to give all their money to him so that he can, save the world kind of thing. He's
Yeah.
just trying
Yeah.
to save himself and we're all trying to save ourselves and we're all just kind of doing it together.
Right. It does. It sounds like you're just really connected to the actual music and the art
And
of
it
it.
is, it's about the music. And I think that's where people lose it is if they don't feel music like that. And not everybody does. I mean, some people don't even like music, which is really hard for me to understand, but I understand that we're all different, and maybe people's ears are made differently and those vibrations don't sound good to them. I don't know what it is. I just know that music to me is something that can heal a lot of pain. And that there are so many lyrics. I think in his lyrics, I've heard his music so often. So music heals the soul is a lyric out of one of his songs. It's a tattoo that a lot of people have when they get a Machine Gun Kelly tattoo. They'll get music heals the soul versus, especially if they're not sure they want to really be, you know, that kind of EST that has a tattoo behind their ear. And not everybody has to, you know
Well,
what
I
I mean?
mean,
Like
now
everybody has their own way. It's
I'm
like
fully
being,
on your side now.
yeah.
If you're getting the ESTOG tattoo behind your ear, you better be getting it from the real guy and not someone
Yeah.
else. That's bullshit. If you're not
Yeah,
doing.
unless you can't. I mean, there are people he has fans in Europe and, Russia, and he has fans in China, and he has fans in the Philippines and South America, and not everybody can get to Cleveland. I get it.
That's
So
true.
I think it's okay. It's just a feeling, that you have. And I think when people have it, they know. So it's hard for people that don't get those kinds of feelings to connect with that and understand it. And it does look a little cultish from the outside, but what it really is protective. We protect each other, right? And we protect him from all this hate because it affects him. He's human. It affects me. I mean, there are days where I'm, you know, too sad to go on social media because everybody's so nasty out there. And I'm never mean to people that are hateful, but I'm also not afraid to tell them, that hey,
Right.
you're wrong and this is unnecessary,
Yeah.
you know, because I think more people need to call out hate on the internet. And that's what his whole entire mainstream sellout tour was about. Was, I don't know if you saw any of the messages of him talking during that show, but his whole show is like, just be you.
Is there
Don't let the
something
internet tell you what to do.
I know
So,
my friend Holly was telling me about the show. She went to the tour and she was
mhm.
saying, is there like a guy that represents the internet and he gets flushed down a toilet or something? Is that right?
No, no. So there was a huge figure on the stage with the TV for a head that represents the internet.
Yeah.
And he would talk and he would be like, I am the internet. You are who I say you are, um, you know, I define who you are, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you're gonna like what I tell you to like.
Uh-huh.
Only the popular, things. And then so throughout the show, the internet interrupts, and then there's one point where the internet asks, "Who are you?" and he plays a song called El Diablo uh, off of Hotel Diablo, and El Diablo is basically introducing, here's his rapper persona, that
Okay.
this is who I am, and then he goes further and does a couple of the short, very punkish songs, To Me, World War III and World War IV,
Right.
off of both Tickets and Mainstream Sellout. And that
Mhm.
is like the helicopter that brings him in is shooting at the TV, at the internet, then, during the war part. But what really kills the internet, and this is just my personal theory, at the end, is that he then does a couple songs. He does Lonely, which is a song for his dad and his aunt that he lost. And that's really when the internet is killed. Because after that, he's like, all right, everybody, one, two, three, fuck the internet. And then the internet dies. Basically, it just
Okay.
goes out. So that's
I
kind of
might
the
have
point.
added the toilet
So it's,
thing. Something on
yeah.
the stage looked like a toilet and I thought, "Oh, maybe he flushes it down a toilet." I would
Well,
love
there's the
that.
tilted stage is really cool, but yeah, it's I could kind of see that. And then the emo girl pops up on the side for the emo girl song, which is she's a big blow up character too. So
Oh,
it was
amazing.
a very cool tour. It was very well put together, very well thought out. And I saw it 6 times, and every time was different, and every time was just so good, so
Wow.
cool. And they kept adding more and more to it. Like in the very last show or last few shows, they all just would like collapse during one of the songs on the stage. The guitar players and Slim, all of them just collapse at the same time. It was just very cool. So,
Amazing.
um,
Well,
yeah,
Shelly, I mean, I think we're gonna call it here. I could
yeah,
talk to you all night, but
been a long time.
thank you so much for opening up, telling us about your experiences and sort of where you're at. So I guess if people wanted to follow you, we'll put your at in the description. It's Shelly
Sure.
Marie 19XX.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, leave our listeners with before you go. It's been such a pleasure having you on.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. I love anybody that lets me talk, so that's always a plus, and I'm sorry for rambling, but I just want to say the same thing, which is, just love what you love, and you don't have to hate the things you don't like. You can just pretend they don't exist. There's no need to, spread hate on the internet. I mean, if you feel bad, but don't like be ugly to other people. If we were all just, if everybody that loved music was nicer to everybody, what a great place the world would be, right?
That's so true. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.